So this topic stood out for me from the standpoint that I literally just spent the last week and a half reading volumes of recommendations from parents. And what stood out to me in there is exactly the point of this, the heart of the teacher. The reasons that parents were nominating them was the value they see in their children, was the way they make them feel when they come in. It's the soft, subjective stuff, right? It's not something you can put on a resume. I can't tell you the number of people who just said she sees the beauty in each child as they walk in. She sits outside her door and every child gets their favorite handshake and acknowledgement first thing when they come in.
I've seen those.
They are. It's a lovely practice. And she's really taken a lead on that in our building. She brings character development into her classroom and just infuses those teachable moments. What really strikes me in this particular teacher that we got to recognize is the caring and the love that she puts into it. I always ask teacher, how can I best support you, right? And sometimes the answer is we need this to go to the office. She will always say, I would really like to be there to be a part of it and help lead.
Tell me a story of a parent or a student that defined that beauty of the heart. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Cathy Tooley. So excited to have you a part of my podcast. Today, I am joined with the one, the only, the Elizabeth Kissel. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Cathy.
Good to have you here. So Elizabeth is a former math teacher. She's been in education now for 22 years. 15 years she spent teaching math. Let's just leave that there for all you math teachers out there. I was the language person. And then the past 7 as a building level principal. Mom of 3 lovely children and a hubby. We'll claim him too, right?
Most days.
Yeah, I get that too. I have one too for almost 40 years, so we'll claim him too. She has graciously agreed. Elizabeth's actually one of our school partners too. So my company works with her school. So when I asked her to be on this, she so graciously agreed. And we're doing, as you know, this series called The Ripple Effect of a Teacher. So today we're really going to talk about really the beauty of a teacher's heart. I don't think that is something that we talk about. People don't get the heart it takes to be a teacher. And so thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being. When you think about a teacher's heart, tell me what you think. Because you picked this.
I did pick this. I'm going to tell you one of the reasons this is exciting to me at this moment as a topic. Last Friday, we give our annual, it's called the Our Lady of Providence Award. The school alarm principal, it's a parochial school, so that's our version of the Teacher of the Year Award.
Right.
So we gather all these nominations from our school partners. So I spent all of last week reading dozens upon dozens of nominations. So this topic stood out for me from the standpoint that I literally just spent the last week and a half reading volumes of recommendations from parents. And what stood out to me in there is exactly the point of this, the heart of the teacher. The reasons that parents were nominating them was the value they see in their children, was the way they make them feel when they come in. It's the soft, subjective stuff, right? It's not something you can put on a resume. It's not a certificate you can hang on a wall. It's not extra letters after your name or the degree.
It's not the math or the English or the science. Important.
It's not. And as much as you and I might like to think the math and the language arts, right?
We do.
And the state test scores that come with them. And listen,
that's right.
You and I have talked, I love all of that stuff. It's those personal connections. Mm-hmm. And the teachers that, and I've told you this before, my building is just bursting at the seams with teachers who lead with their heart and love what they do and are amazing. In reading through those nominations, just to see the impact, like really seeing the impact these teachers have had, not only on the kids, on their family life when they get home, right? That they make the children feel welcome from the second they enter the room, that they're there greeting them at the door, that they're investing outside of their lives or showing up to watch them in sporting events or at their first communions.
Yeah, that is far too often underestimated.
It is, but it matters.
It matters when you
Not
show
that they have to, because I know they've all got busy lives.
And no one's asking you to stay to every game all the time.
No.
Show up for 10 minutes and make sure they see you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
stopping to ask them about it the next day.
Yes. Did you win? How was it? What happened? Or if they have that scrape or whatever happened, acknowledge that clearly they took a hit last night at the football game. What did that look like? Yeah, it is exactly about the heart. So do me a favor.
Yeah.
Tell me a story of a parent or a student that defined that beauty of the heart. to you?
Well, the easy one for me to go with here is to speak to the teacher we just gave that award to on Friday, because I just wrote a beautiful speech for her on Friday about those very things, summarizing the things that were shared about this teacher that I had the great honor to be able to pass along and to recognize her for were, I can't tell you the number of people who just said she sees the beauty in each child as they walk in. She sits outside her door and every child gets their favorite handshake and acknowledgement first thing when they come in.
I've seen those.
They are. It's a lovely
That's so-
practice. And she's really taken a lead on that in our building. She's a primary grade teacher. She will turn things into song and things that could have been a lecture or whatever
bless those
about
people.
the transitions. She's got this beautiful voice. You go in and it's kind of like stepping into like a Disney princess movie for a moment, that she just radiates this love and warmth and these simple, songs that lead the transition instead of
Yes.
dictating orders at them. She brings character development into her classroom and just infuses those teachable moments. Even when disciplinary or behavior issues pop up in the classroom,
which I'm sure they do.
which they will in any classroom anywhere, right? But what really strikes me in this particular teacher that we got to recognize is the caring and the love that she puts into it. And I always ask teacher, how can I best support you, right? And sometimes the answer is we need this to go to the office. She will always say, I would really like to be there to be a part of it and help lead some resolution here and bring them. It's so important to her that the kids both feel valued and that they know what to do next. I've also listened to her when she talks with parents, and that same love and care that she puts into them, she will pour right into that conversation with the parents. And I have to imagine that any parent gets off the phone and says, my goodness, like how blessed are we to have, they care, right?
They care.
It comes back to those relationships and the care that she has, the genuine concern she has for her students as individual people. It just comes through.
How many years has she been teaching?
I think she has been teaching 14 total. It's just been
We're not talking
2
someone
here.
way at it, who's a veteran, 30, 40 years at this.
No, she had been home for a while, has been back in the classroom for a couple of years now, and she just melted into that classroom when she stepped back in, started with us a couple years ago, and is beautiful.
What do you think she would say to the brand new teacher that's coming out of the field and says, I don't know. She has this, Elizabeth. I don't. She innately is this. And while that may be true, what could we learn from her? What could teachers learn from her?
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is that this particular individual is so humble. She would say, oh, goodness, what a blessing. And I can't imagine that I would be the person. Like, she is so humble, it would never occur to her to be that person.
Of course.
I think that humility is part of what people find so beautiful in it. Love them first.
There it is.
Right?
There it is.
We'll go a little Mother Teresa on it.
Amen. Love them as Christ did.
Yeah.
I think that is so far too often lost in our field is that we are getting the opportunity as educators to teach his children.
Yeah.
And we have to love them as he loved them first.
Yeah.
First, before we can teach them math or English, as you and I know so important needs to be done, we have to love them first.
Yeah.
We have to love them first. What do you wish teachers could know about how important that, what I call the beauty of a teacher's heart is? If you could, to everyone listening to this podcast today, what would you want them to know about that beauty of their heart that may exist in them that they're not even aware is there? What would you want to call out?
That's a great question. I think it's don't underestimate the small stuff.
That's it.
Don't underestimate the small stuff. And listen, like I think, and I'm going to put myself in the category of probably every administrator in any school, we talk a lot about data. We talk a lot about curriculum. We put energy and professional development into those things. But just don't underestimate how important those connections are. And the growth you can yield purely because you took the time to get to know them, and that sometimes that's what opens the door to be able to make the rest of that growth. But just don't.
To me, it starts with the heart.
Yeah.
What is that old expression of no one cares what you know until
they know how much you care? Yeah.
They know how much you care.
But it's a culture builder, right? Like it shifts the culture in that whole building. When you see kids come in and they feel welcome walking in the door, it shifts their mindset and readiness for the day, which makes everybody's day go better.
Yeah, that silly little, tell me about that handshake she does.
Oh, she'll have a couple different outside the door and, give the children a chance to choose. Would you rather have a butterfly
Yeah,
or
I've seen those on TikTok.
Yeah,
I've seen those on TikTok before.
And with that too, though, it's also important to recognize the kids that physical touch is not comfortable for and
sure.
they just want to wave.
For sure. But she took the time to take something that she probably saw on a TikTok or saw something out there and thought, I'll give this a shot.
There's a lot of training in that domain.
But
It's her.
for me, the takeaway is it's not about the activity. It still goes back to that is a teacher who is looking for, I want and need to do something that will make my students see and feel my heart. Yeah. I don't know that I would have wanted to do a handshake thing like that. And I think that's what I feel pressed to lead in, that it's not about the handshake.
It's not. So to that extent too, I think the other piece that I would say, Cathy, is be authentic to who you are.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
Because what works for one
That
teacher
would feel inauthentic to me.
doesn't work for the teacher across the hall or down the hall or around the corner. But I see amazing things in every one of those rooms. And what works in a K through preschool through 8, quite frankly, in our building, right? Like what is working in preschool is not the same strategy that my 7th grade teacher is going to work on.
They would roll their eyes at that, correct.
But I don't think that it's about trying to be anyone else. I don't think it's looking and saying, I like how that teacher does it, I have to be them. I think that it is about recognizing who you are and what fills not every teacher needs to walk in a classroom and sing. I mean, some people do it, and it is magic.
They should not walk into a classroom.
Some teachers need to just find the song on YouTube.
That's right, and never sing, because singing is not right. But I think
find your thing.
That's it.
And if your thing, I've got a middle school teacher who keeps chessboards out, and kids will pop in and they just kind of banter back and forth. And there's other. I could name a zillion strategies for connections they do up and down the building, but that's where that magic comes from, and it connects with that teacher. And I think it's beautiful that kids throughout the course of their school get teachers with different personalities, and they're going to connect some with more than others.
As they will have different bosses with personalities and different spouses. And
be who you are and be authentic to that and bring that in every day. And when you lead with who you authentically are, good things happen.
So I think that's the question of it all, which is, how do you show a student that you care? How do you show them your heart? I mean, you've given a few examples, but that really is the crux of it. How do you show a student your heart? And I agree, we as a company do a really good job in helping teachers unpack data and understand rigor and all the things that we do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the successful teachers are not only taking those tools, but they're showing those kids their heart.
I think it's as simple as when you ask, how was your weekend, remembering what they said. I had an 8th grade boy tell me recently, he was talking about one of his teachers that he's really going to miss. And it was that he stops to ask this particular student, Legos are his thing. And he does like the big, super elaborate, and he gets really into them, and they take months.
There's a show where they could win money building Legos out there. So
he's like, he said he made me feel like I mattered from the beginning, or however he said it in his 8th grade language. But the example he kept coming back to is he'll always check in on how my Legos are doing. That's the connection.
Those Legos.
Right? Like for that student, that he cared enough to ask about something that isn't in front of him at school was enough to
connect him. That's enough that I
know I matter.
I know I matter. I know I matter. Oh, perfect. All right. One more question I want to ask.
Yeah.
Tell me a story for you personally, how you showed. You can pick. I'll let you pick how either as a teacher you showed students your heart, although I think we have enough stories for that. So I'm going to push you a little. How do you show your teachers your heart? Because remember, there's
Cathy.
Administrators watching this.
Yeah.
And they too are like, right, but now my job is to evaluate these people. My job is to decide whether they remain hired or not. How do we, as administrators, as leaders, show teachers our heart, show parents our heart? How do we do that? How do you do that, Elizabeth?
That is a great question, Cathy. I think it comes back to some of those same pieces, and it is hard to be vulnerable as an administrator because you've got a tight line to walk.
We're not invited to the bonfires and the fun parties and things that we were as a teacher. And we get that.
No, and that's a hard part of the job.
That's a hard part of the job, especially if you taught with those people.
That is a very difficult part of the
with
job.
these people, or you're in a parochial building as you are. But how do we still show them our heart? Because we have to. How do we do that?
Early on in my administrative career, a former administrator, I was struggling with this, and I was trying to just toe the professional very tight.
Mm-hmm.
And a former assistant principal I had worked with said, Elizabeth, it's okay to be a person. Share, in your weekly memo, share an anecdote from the weekend or something that makes you a little bit more personable, a little more human. Show who you are. It took me a while as a new administrator to get comfortable with that. I think it comes to the same things as an administrator that it comes to as a teacher. It's building relationships.
That's it.
It's talking to teachers not just about the practice. It's not walking in and saying, what lesson are you going to have? It's knowing
What
that
data are you using? What curriculum are we aligned to?
Knowing that they went out of town to visit a parent this weekend and stopping to ask how their parent is doing. It's knowing their children by name and asking about them. I've tried, even in my first year at this particular school, when Halloween came around, I made goodie bags for all the teachers' kids because teachers' kids don't get enough credit for the hours they put in those buildings, the copies they make.
Parents are there. I agree. How long mommy and daddy are away? I agree.
The copies they make for the classrooms, the bulletin boards they put up.
That's right.
So it's just
the
something
money they spend on their own. Right. Yeah.
Small thing, and I never want to share any of this as like a pat on the back for it. And I don't know if it worked or.
Isn't it so hard for us to even admit it?
Well, it is, but just I've tried little things like that, right? Like just stop, and I want you to know I care about your children, and I think it's being willing, even if you're not at Friday night happy hour, that pop in another prep period and how are you, and listen,
and legitimately mean how are you,
right?
Not how was the lesson, not how was the data, not what did the assessment look like today.
Right.
But how are you?
Talking to, I think that recognizing that personal side of it is huge. And then, the flip side of it is we have to have the nitty gritty conversations and the technical conversations too, but just finding those organic opportunities to share positive feedback, tell them when you've seen those glimmers or you've heard positive things. If a parent stops and tells you something great,
share it.
Love getting to walk into a classroom and say, you are not going to believe what I just got in my inbox. I couldn't agree more. I'm not surprised, but man, do I love knowing other people see that.
I love it. Thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for being here and being a part of it. And thank you guys for watching. It's always great to have fellow administrators who have what I think of as walk the walk and talk the talk with me. And while I am not in the trenches anymore, as you are every day, I thank you because you are an example of a heart.
Well,
the reason that I wanted you here on the podcast is because when I see you, and it's so funny when you picked this topic, I thought, spoken from someone who is a heart. So not only because you're one of our partner schools and because you're one of our partner schools, but thank you for showing up every day with the heart that you do for kids, for teachers.
That's where my fulfillment comes in it. I think when we can care enough about our teachers that we keep their buckets full so they can in turn care for their students. It's
sometimes all we needed for one more day, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all we needed for one more day. So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for Elizabeth for
thank you, Cathy,
being here as one of my guests, and we can't wait to see you on a future episode. Have a great day, everybody.